deploying MERN, MongoDB, Express.js, React, Node.js. Project on Vercel requires some setup, as Vercel is optimized for frontend and serverless backend deployments. Here's a step-by-step guide. Step 1. Prepare the project. Separate frontend and backend. Place the React frontend in a folder, example/client. Place the Node.js backend in another folder, example/server. Configure the frontend. Ensure the React app uses environment variables for API calls to the backend, example. Using React_app_API_URL. Build the React app using npm run build. Prepare the backend. Convert backend endpoints to be compatible with serverless functions if needed, example. Avoid using long-lived processes. Use environment variables for sensitive information like database credentials. Step 2. Set up MongoDB. Cloud database. Use a cloud-hosted MongoDB service like MongoDB Atlas. Create a database cluster and configure the connection string. Environment variables. Save the MongoDB connection URI in Vercel's environment variable settings. Step 3. Deploy the frontend to Vercel. Initialize the project. Navigate to the /client folder. Run Vercel init to set up the frontend project. Push to Git repository. Commit the frontend code to a Git repository. Deploy to Vercel. Go to the Vercel dashboard and import the frontend repository. Set the environment variables, example, React_app_API_URL, in Vercel settings. Deploy the frontend. Step 4. Deploy the backend to Vercel. Set up serverless functions. Ensure each API route is defined in a file under /API, example/API/route.js. Use Vercel.json to configure the serverless functions if needed. Push to Git repository. Commit the backend code to a Git repository. Deploy to Vercel. Go to the Vercel dashboard and import the backend repository. Set environment variables, examples, Mongo_URI, JWT_secret, in Vercel settings. Deploy the backend. Step 5. Connect frontend and backend. Update the frontend API URL. Use the deployed backend URL in the frontend's environment variables. Test the connection. Verify that the frontend can successfully make API calls to the backend. Step 6. Final testing. Ensure all routes, APIs, and database connections work as expected. Test the deployment in various environments to confirm everything functions properly. Tips. Middleware in Vercel. Use middleware to handle authentication and request validation if needed. Custom domains. Add custom domains in the Vercel dashboard for both frontend and backend. Logs and debugging. Use Vercel's built-in logs to debug deployment issues. Would you like specific configurations or a tailored walkthrough for your project?